going to ask, let's see here, who we have. We have students back there in the back. Can I get a student to volunteer to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? You can come on down to the front. Thank you. Give her a hand.
You got to tell us your name,
When you
and what
come to the
school you
mic.
go to, and what grade you're in, and then you can lead us.
And you can come over to
Right
this
here.
microphone right here, young lady. Fantastic.
My name's Elizabeth Villasenor, and I go to Richardson Prep High, and I'm in 8th grade.
Fantastic, great. So you can lead us in the pledge. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much.
Great job. That's a sign of a leader there that steps up and does the job, so great work. Proud of you.
Okay, next we would like to have the adoption of our agenda.
So moved, second?
All right, let's vote. Okay, 2.0, we have a special presentation, or presentations.
Yes, so thank you, Ms. Rogers. And with that, Board, you'll remember that we discussed that we would briefly provide you our recommendation based on our recent meetings with parents and their meetings with other parents. And so Dr. Moneras has that information for you, and I think we're hearing from a couple of our guest parents tonight who are representing both DLAC and DAC. So, Dr. Moneras.
Puede sentar enfrente. Yes, you can just, if you want, just sit in front. Good evening, Board. So last night we had the another stakeholder engagement meeting to talk about the centralized, the location for the temporary centralized services. We went through quite a few pieces of information, but we did have them vote. And so option one, if you remember, Board, is the modular. And we had a total of 18 votes for that. And option two is the lease option, and we had a total of 71. So let me just kind of talk through those votes a little bit, because that's quite a bit. Ms. Cisneros, the DLAC did an initial vote last Friday. Facilities went, and they were present, and they did an initial vote. And so we included those numbers in the total vote, so that increases it. If we were just to talk about the parents that were there last night, option one was 8 parents, and option two was 15. So we still have option two as the choice that was presented by the families. And both Ms. Robertson and Ms. Cisneros were not able to be here tonight. Cisneros is doing something as a mom, and Ms. Robertson as well, because she's working. So they have representatives just to show if you have questions, or just for them to give a thumbs up that this indeed is what came out of last night. So that's it. Just a thumbs up, right, ladies? We're good? Yes.
Great. So, Board, any questions you have for Dr. Moneras or the parents?
So we have, I don't know who, I didn't get to see whose light you were, okay? So Scott? All right, so Scott?
Thank you, Ms. Rogers.
You're welcome.
Now, my question just was to the parents. Were there any concerns that you may have had prior to us making a decision and supporting your decision for the location?
So we need some translation.
I know, my name is Natasha Cornish.
Hi, Natasha.
And I am a parent for,
We may want to help turn the microphone on. I don't know if that one's on.
You have to put it close to your mouth also.
Might have been.
Just
Oh, there we go.
my name is Natasha Cornish, and I am a parent of the District of African American Parents, the organization. And one of the issues that came up last night was the difference in the cost between option one and option two. And the other issue that came up that was of concern is how either location was going to be staffed. we just wanted to make sure that we had a representation of the entire community.
Okay, well, I believe that would be Dr. Manadas could probably respond to that. And we, as the board, we just want to make sure that if there were any questions or concerns from the community, that those were definitely addressed prior to making a decision. So, thank you.
And Mr. Ramirez is translating for our parents.
You're still, okay.
Any from the other parents, Mr. Ramirez?
¿Puedes decirlo en el micrófono? ¿Puedes decirlo en el micrófono? En español.
Queremos saber, preguntar si la policía de distrito escolar va a estar en estas oficinas.
I can
He-
translate. She wants to know if police presence will be and security will be at the site. Dr. Marsden.
Yeah, Dr. Manadas, I believe your team's talked about that.
Right, we would want to have the same type of safety that we would have at any of our other district buildings. So not necessarily stationed at the site, but the same type of patrol.
And I'm glad that did come up because that was one of my concerns at the
Dice,
second location.
dice que sí vamos a tener no permanente todo el día, pero perdón, when you say presence, what do you mean by that?
So the same patrol that we do for any of our district buildings, so.
So what is
the-
that?
So Chief, could you speak a little bit to what our,
Yo le estoy preguntando qué clase de seguridad van a tener.
Hey, Dr. Flores, for all the areas of the district, and we have police officers assigned to certain geographical areas, and they check our district sites. For instance, this site is checked often by a police officer, as well as we do have a campus security officer here, as well as our maintenance yard, the wall building. So any building that's owned by this district is patrolled by our police
How
officers
often?
actively.
How often?
Yeah, I'll say they're checked often. During the day, it may be 3 to 4 times that day that they stop at those facilities.
Dice, cualquier edificio que somos dueños de ese edificio, como 3 a 4 veces pasan para vigilar y a ver si necesitan seguridad. Pero circulan 3, 4 veces al día.
He has a mic now.
And then my question is, I understand about the police patrols and presence, but are we going to have anyone else there, maybe full-time, like a security guard or anything like that?
so we haven't discussed that level of detail, and that's something, actually, this is the first time hearing about that concern from the parents, and so that would be something we would have to look into.
Okay, and I think we probably should have that answer for our parents and our community, when this decision's made, which might
Yeah, and I
not,
think
so-
it's safe to say we'll provide the level of security that's needed, and the staff there will be conscious of that, and, yeah,
Gracias.
yep, de nada.
Any more questions? You good? Okay. Mr. Tillman?
Yeah, I know, in terms of security, we can take it to whatever level we need it. I know even at the county, we pay for security guards to be at certain sites, so I'm sure if we thought it was necessary to make you feel safe, we could do that. I go there a lot to that area, so I know there's a jewelry store there, and they have a full-time guard there. I don't know if the roaming security guard is there for the entire, there's another one there that may be there for the entire complex, so that may be part of the lease agreement we have where they'll have security there already, because I see them there already. They go through all the different shops, but we'll make sure we have security staff there. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. I know you went to the other meeting too, so I know it takes a lot. I don't take that for granted, so I really appreciate you volunteering your time, and we hear your concerns. The whole thing is to make this an asset, and I think, I like that area only because of not only, but for a lot of reasons. One, you have more space, and so we can really do a lot of the things we want to do. That's twice the capacity that we're talking about in the portables, but also the proximity to the bus station, because it literally is just across the street. If a parent is riding a bus, they get off right there, and all the buses terminate there. They can get right off and walk across the street and walk back across the street to get back on the bus, which is a big deal for people who are dependent upon the bus system for transportation. But again, I want to thank you for volunteering, and we'll stay on it and make it happen as soon as possible. But thank you.
Our board president is here, but we will hear from Mike Gallo.
Welcome, Madam
You take it from
President.
there.
Thank you. On security, Joe, wouldn't you patrol this just as you would normally be patrolling here? Yeah, I was just kind of wondering, would it be any different than here, the risk? Or do you see it any different as a risk, let alone your patrols? But
Yeah, at this point now, we'd probably look at an assessment in that area, look at the type of calls that Seminole PD as well as others respond to that area. Yeah, other than that, I don't see where it would be any different from any facility across our district.
would this be open any additional hours and things like that? So there may be, I mean,
It
I'm
will
not sure
be.
we are here, but.
There was a request when we did the survey, there was some big request in terms of at least, and testing my memory here, I do know that it was at least, yes, okay, so at least one night a week for a little, for parents who are working parents, and to be open a little bit later, so we have to determine exactly what that would look like, but a couple hours later than what typical district operations would be, and to be open at least one Saturday a month.
Got it.
And so, again, to have that accessibility. So there will be some change, different hours, but most of it will be the regular work hours.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rachel. Thanks, Chief.
Dr. Flores?
I'll first say it in Spanish. Quiero saber si los padres entendieron que íbamos a ¿cómo se dice? A terminar ese edificio iba a tomar más tiempo que la otra selección. I'm asking them, did the parents know that selecting that building was going to take longer to refurbish and so forth than the one right behind here?
Yes, we were informed that was part of the meeting last night, how long it would take. Yes.
Okay. What did the DLAC parents say? ¿Qué dijeron los padres de DLAC?
El viernes que tuvimos la junta de DILAC, la mayor parte de los padres estuvieron de acuerdo porque les queda, como bien dijeron, los autobuses están más cerca de ese edificio.
Okay.
La capacidad, el tamaño también. Y yo sé que es un poquito más largo, pero sí entendimos.
Okay.
La mayoría de los
Déjame
padres.
introducir. She's saying, I asked her, why they chose that, and they said, one, because of the bus availability. Also, it's a larger building, and there be more capacity for all of them to be able to fit. Yeah.
También pensamos que si hemos esperado varios años, podemos esperar unos meses.
If we waited for years, we can wait a couple more months. Yeah. Yeah. Gracias. Es todo. ¿Hubo otras preguntas o que tuvieron los padres? Did the parents have any other concerns or questions?
Alguien mencionó sobre la seguridad anoche, pero,
The primary one was security.
pero ahorita ya
Okay,
se
so
habló
now-
sobre eso y lo que han dicho vamos a comunicarlo a los demás.
Okay. Thank you. Now that you've clarified that there will be security, we'll relay it to the rest of the parents. And if there isn't, if they need more security, I think we would provide it, ¿verdad?
Yeah, we'll provide adequate security.
Y si necesitamos más, sí lo vamos a ofrecer, sí.
Gracias.
Thank you. Denada.
Dr.
Mr. Tillman?
I'm done.
And I know Tom is here. I don't know what your actual, if you actually have a projected design for that facility. You say you don't, but you might want to consider a large a space that can be made large for like meetings, because this area is going to be under construction, so it might be good that the parents and the parent groups could meet in there, if in a large area. Yeah. It doesn't take a
Maybe
whole
we
lot.
could hold our board meetings there.
I don't know about that, but it doesn't take a whole lot to put
Why
in
not?
tables and chairs and have it wired for Wi-Fi and all that stuff, and maybe projectors and some TVs for presentations. Thank you.
Dr. Hill?
Thank you. I know I missed, and I certainly won't ask anybody to repeat anything. I went by today, and I know it's 2/10 of a mile from the transit center, and I just hope all of you parents have had a chance to go back there. It's one thing walking alone, but if you're walking with 2 or 3 students, because there's some busy areas in there, and 2/10 of a mile is at least about one round on a track, on a football field. So it appears a short distance when you think of 2/10 of a mile, but it all depends on whether you're 40 or whether you're 60. And we have a lot of grandparents who are caregivers. So I just want you to be aware there. But I also went by today, and Tom, there's a lot of work to be done in that. Do you foresee it being done in April? I mean, I looked up at the ceiling and went, oh, good gracious, because all of that stuff needs to come out. And then the lights were on, and there was a tall ladder in there, so I didn't know. I know they just voted last night or the past couple of nights, and I was just concerned with the amount of work that needs to go in. So if you're talking about doing a design, are you going to do a design to bring it back to the board for approval? Or this whatever happens with the vote tonight, that's it? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, whatever happens tonight, if the board has a thumbs up, then we'll go forward, we'll put the plans together, we'll include the partners in the decision-making process to ensure that we meet the objectives of the collective work that Dr. Moneris has been leading.
So this is not going to come back to us?
Won't be a need for it to.
Okay. Well, I mean, and I think that's good. I don't want it to. I sure wish I could have smiled when I went by there today, but.
We'll make you smile after it's done.
Well, I hope so.
Yep.
Madam
Thank you.
President? Sorry. No problem, go ahead. So I'd like to know the projected date that you think that the building will be ready.
I think it's important to talk about next steps. So one of the next steps would be.
Go to the mic.
One of the next steps is we need to get a lease agreement, which does need to come back to board for approval. Part of the lease agreement will discuss security. We'll discuss tenant improvements, which are the things the landlord will make to the building that we've requested, which will include layout, spaces. Once approved, they'll need time to make those modifications. We really need to sit down with the leasing agent and talk about how long it'll take them to make those modifications. Yes, a permit will need to be pulled, that they will need to make the modifications as requested.
Do we need DSA approval?
We do not.
We do not need DSA approval.
We need
Okay.
city approval, but.
We need city approval and permits.
Correct.
How long do those take?
For something this size, we think April, May is doable.
April or May now?
Correct.
Okay,
We did lose some time from the last meeting to this time.
so it's going to be towards the end of the school year then? Okay,
We
Mr. Tillman?
We're continually evaluating options in that area to see if there's something that may speed up the process.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Tillman?
Yeah, I just want to say, I know, like, Dr. Hill, you mentioned the ceiling. I know they're going to do a drop ceiling probably, and the flooring, that kind of stuff. So that kind of stuff doesn't take a long time to do. So, I mean, there's no demolition needed because everything's gutted already. That's a good thing. And then I don't know, have you gone in the building? So did you actually go see the restroom area? And how many restrooms are back there?
I didn't personally count the stalls, but there's about 4 per restroom.
Okay. So a lot of it's in there already, so you start with a good foundation.
It's offices that are needed.
Right.
It's the wall construction, electrical, data, moving equipment in and out.
All right. Thank you.
Dr. Hill?
Thank you. My other question is, do you know how long that building has been empty?
I do not.
I do.
How long?
Mary Nellen was closed about, what, 2 years ago? It used to be Mary Nellen's,
Yeah, it used to be Marinella's School of Beauty.
that's about 2 years ago that shut down?
I thought it was longer than that.
Was that where Mervin's was?
No, Mary Nellen. I know I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it was the beauty school.
It's Easter Marshall.
Oh, it's Easter Marshall.
Sally's Beauty.
But I go there all the time for my Murray, so I remember when, I remember when it shut down, Doctor.
Okay, and I guess my my other question is, when was the last time you got a permit from our city? And I'm not saying that being facetious. I love this city, but that I think the biggest complaints people have in this city is the amount of time it takes to get a permit.
We get various permits for lots of our different projects. The last time we got a city permit was for the Professional Development Center. Yes, all permitting agencies take time. We do think that we have a relationship with the city that transcends some of the other issues that are currently being dealt with.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? I think my question is probably first to the board. I know, if I'm not mistaken, this particular location came up some months ago when we were kind of engaging what we're going to do, whether we were going to go with a temporary location or a lease location, and then we were going to get like a cost analysis and look at that. But moving beyond that, there was some concerns about the location at that time, and we kind of backed away from it. So I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember that night we shared some concern, and because we were going to look at different locations even when we were considering that location. Does anyone recall what that was? Because it came up, we named that location. Everyone was trying to figure out what it was over there. But then something came up, and I think it seemed like it surrounded security.
I think Dr.
We had a
Monero.
long discussion.
It was related to security.
Okay.
It was related to concerns about security and the increased homelessness and so forth, yeah.
Well,
And the
I
lack of
remember-
lighting, and the lack of lighting.
At a
And
certain
I
time.
remember a discussion on the cost and the lengthier schedule to occupy. It was months, but not that many more
So-
months. But those are the only discussions I recall.
Right, and like Dr. Flores said, it was something about security. So again, we raised that in lighting that came up. So I noticed we're back. I think I wasn't at that board meeting when this became an option, so I was wondering, did we make sure that we did our due diligence around that? And then I also wanted to ask the parent, I'm sorry, tell me your name again. Carnage. Ms. Carnage had said, or had mentioned, and I was actually at the meeting on last night, but your first statement was, the parents were concerned that all the parents had input when you said that, and maybe you can give me a little bit more information on that, because I also know that last night, not knowing what other groups weighed in, it didn't appear to be a large amount of parents, other than maybe parents were represented that were also administrators and parents as well. I know that can happen. So did you want to share, anything else with what you were saying?
Well, part of the representation that we had at the meetings, one of the issues that came up was that it was parents that were at previous meetings.
Okay.
Mainly, we had very few new parents, and it's not a true representation of the community.
Okay.
And that communicating to the community about what we're discussing on the locations is not getting out there. So that was the concern, that was one of the concerns, is that, you know, the people that were voting were the same parents that were at the beginning in trying to find a location and set up a new center.
Okay. So she indicated that was a concern, so that's why she was expressing that was her concern. I don't know how good or bad, Dr.
I'm also concerned about the lighting, to make sure that we have enough lights and so forth. Because winter's coming, it's going to be dark sooner, and so I'm concerned about that. We'll look into that, correct? Yeah, okay.
You guys never walked outside after a board meeting here.
Oh, it's pretty dark, but we have police guarding us.
Right. I think that's a little bit, yeah, we are surrounded by our own here. We're moving into another shopping center area. So board, we're considering everything that everyone has said, and so from there.
Great, so Board, if we have your consensus, then we'll go forward with this, this recommendation on the second.
Yeah, well, let me just make sure, since I came late, I understand that, like, the parents overwhelmingly supported this location?
Yes.
So don't we need a motion?
So moved.
Motion. Second?
No.
To select option 2,
Yes.
right?
Recommendation by the parents, right?
Okay, yeah.
Before we vote, is there any time for us to have questions? I just want,
Question?
No.
well, usually, if you follow Robert's Rules of Order, you say the motion, you second, and then you ask if there are any questions.
And discussion.
Okay, so at this point, I just want to do my own discussion. Thank you. You know, we gave a task to the parents, and appreciate the many hours and everything else you put in. Personally, I don't think it's a good decision to go over there, and I was even more convinced today. But I respect you as parents and what you want for your children, and even though the voting was overwhelmingly in support of, I have the same concern you have, you know, exactly who was voting. And I don't know, I don't think it was, I personally, based on what I've heard, it wasn't total representation. I'm going to vote to support this because I think it's important that we say to parents, we shouldn't ask you for something and you give it to us and we not do it. I just wanted to be known that personally, I think holding out for a brand-new building and getting busy on there is the way to go. I'd much rather see the, what is it, $9,000 or $10,000 a month? I'd much rather see that used on putting in, you know, the state-of-the-art enrollment center than to, you know, come up short when you get the permanent building because the funds just not there. You know, we might have funds now, but it's like all of our bank accounts, it's not always there. And you don't know what's going to be there in another 3 or 4 years. You know what's there now that you can use. But I just want you to know why I'm supporting it, not because I think it's a good recommendation and a good suggestion. I'm supporting it because I think it's unfair to say to our parents, have all these meetings, even though the voting might be a little skewed. Well, the voting is skewed. I'm going to support it because this is what you as parents have asked for, and appreciate you putting in the time and energy.
Dr. Hill, I have a question on that. I have more of a clarification for really Tom, I guess. Margaret brought up the fact that this would somehow potentially affect the construction of a new facility. Isn't this a concurrent activity? And would it actually defer the I guess, construction of our permanent facility?
I'd say that the construction would not conflict with the new construction. However, I would say that it is coming out of the same budget. So I think to her point of cost, that yes, I think the funds that we've identified, it's coming out of the same budget, the lease and the new construction.
And is that budget subjective to some potential decrement that we're unaware of at this 5 seconds? Like when we usually appropriate funds, I would imagine that that is what you're going to commit and expend on the project, and they're not subject to any recapture or, explain that to me?
We'll let Ms. Christakis explain that.
So to Mr. Pace's point, it's more expensive, the option which we're fully aware of. And so that is part of the budget that we're using to construct the new site. I think part of what Dr. Hill was saying is there's effort that goes into making sure that both things are moving forward. And so I think that was her point. And so we will build this into the budget, but it is coming out of the same budget, so there's that much less to be spent on something else. But
So
we have enough.
this is a cap or something that we've
There's no-
included already a total cost then?
There's no,
for
there's no
the two?
cap, it's just the point that the total, it will be a higher amount.
Okay, and that budget account has sufficient dollars in it to support both of these objectives?
When we
Without
brought to the
diminishing
board the cost of the building, it was 6 million, and so this is just additional cost on top of the 6 million. But there's enough to cover it. It's just less that we can put into something. There's a total budget.
Right, is any of this like bond dollars or anything like that, that we're ultimately,
Redevelopment and bond.
okay, so there's a lot of funds available.
And a lot of projects. And
Sure. But this will not interfere with the scheduled completion date as currently identified of the
No,
new
sir.
project? Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Dr. Wyatt?
No, you're.
You were.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the parents for, their participation and being here tonight as well. And Madam President, I absolutely concur with a number of points that you've made very clear tonight. My one main concern, and I will stay consistent on this, is obviously we are going to support our parents with selection number 2, but I want to ensure that we have the appropriate security there to ensure a safe place for them to go. And I don't want it to just be patrols. I want it to be full-time during all hours. And that is my one point that I want to get across, and I'll support the decision of our parents, but I want to ensure that they have a safe place to go. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Dr. Flores?
Yo hubiera elegido opción número 1, porque sería más rápido y sería más cerca aquí. I would have chosen option 1, like our president had recommended, como dice la doctora Hill. Pero yo los respeto, but I respect you. Y han tomado mucho tiempo. You've taken a lot of time to analyze both decisions, analizar los dos opciones, ¿verdad? Pero yo quisiera hacerlo más rápido para matricular más niños más rápido, ¿verdad? Y tener la clínica más rápido, y etcétera, etcétera. I would have chosen option 1 so that we would have done this much more rapidly and gotten the clinic in, everything in sooner. And like I said, I respect you, los respeto. And so anyway, and I will vote for your choice. Okay, sí voy a votar por su opción.
¿Puedo hablar? Ok. Creo que todos queremos que el centro de matriculación sea lo más pronto posible, ¿verdad? Todos los padres estamos, tantos años tenemos de estar peleando este centro de matriculación y en mi opinión, la opción número 1, que eran los portátiles, para mí es que, ok, voto por la opción número uno, portátiles, pero siento que nada más lo van a dejar así y ya no van a hacer nada, porque siempre nos han dado esa opción desde un principio, hacer los portátiles, de que se iba a hacer aquí atrás, en la parte de atrás, y no estamos de acuerdo en eso. Y yo creo que la opción 2 es un poco más grande, como dijo la doctora.
You want to translate? I don't need to translate.
Yes, I can translate, Dr. Flores. So I think as parents, we all, like you, want to get an enrollment center built as quickly as possible. I hear what you're saying about option 1 and the portables. However, we've been talking about portables for a long time, and I feel like if we say portables, and we decide portables here today, nothing's going to happen like in the past. And so with this other building that has more space, we can do more with it.
Y yo creo que el edificio, esto es temporal. O sea, estamos esperando un edificio que sea para lo que realmente estamos pidiendo. Esto es temporal nada más.
She says the building over there, option 2, is temporary. And meantime, when we're building the new one, it's a solid structure and has more capacity, and that's what we desire.
La mayoría de nosotros los padres sentimos al distrito escolar como nuestra casa.
The majority of us view the school district as our home.
La mayoría de las madres que somos voluntarias nos la pasamos mucho tiempo donando nuestro tiempo.
Says, as mothers of our children, we spend many hours donating and volunteering our time.
Y pensamos que si es algo como nuestra casa, queremos un lugar más cómodo.
And if this is going to be our home, we want a place that is more accommodating and comfortable and nice.
Para tener a todos los miembros de nuestra familia, que somos todas las familias.
And for all of our members, all our family members.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Tillman?
And I concur with your statements you just made. I agree with you. I think it's going to be the right choice in the end. In the end, what's most important is you guys took the vote. And I understand that you didn't have the parent representation that you want, but usually the parent, you're never going to get all the parents that you want to come out to a meeting. So the parents that do volunteer do get to weigh in on what they want. And to me, the most important thing was getting you guys to vote to decide on the direction you wanted to go. In terms of the money and RDA money, we got a report just last board meeting about additional RDA money, right, Ms. Christakis?
I think most of that was carryover.
Right. So we had substantial amount of money in RDA and IVDA, right?
Yes.
And we don't know whether we'll get more of that money next year or not, right?
We do get money each year, it's just the amount varies year to
Exactly.
year.
So it comes down to the same thing. At some point, we're going to always prioritize how we spend the money, but there's no doubt that we have the money to spend. I know we talk about building football fields and artificial turf and stuff like that. There's a whole lot of things that I think this building is more important than, so I have no hesitation about taking that money and putting it in that enrollment center, because for me, the most important part of our students starting education in our school district is where they're placed at the beginning. I just had a parent that knew nothing about accelerated kindergarten. She found out about it, her child tested, her child was able to get into it. But those type of things and that knowledge and all the programs should be talked about someplace. And I don't have the confidence that they'll be talked about at each individual school by the office staff. That's why I'm so supportive of having a robust enrollment center. I think it's huge. So the more capacity, the bigger the space, the more people we can have in there that are qualified to help parents make that decision on where their kids should be placed when they start their education in our district. I think whatever it costs is worth it. It's that critical. And for us to have twice the capacity is even that much better more. And as we all know, if you're going to have that many people, we talked last time about 30 and 40 people in a building. You can't have 30 and 40 people in a building and one restroom, one for a female and one for a male. That just doesn't make any sense to me. It's a lot better that we have the more capacity for restrooms too. That's huge. So those will be things that once we're in that building, we'll appreciate that we have it. Versus going into a smaller building with less restrooms and then realizing, man, it would be nice if we had more, right? So I congratulate you all on making the decision. I know everybody didn't make this decision, but it's the majority that won out. So I appreciate it. And I appreciate my board members for respecting what the parents say and go along with the parents also, even though they don't like the fact that this is my recommendation. But thank you.
So is it about your recommendation for the parents? Abigail?
I wanted to clarify. So the first option, it only has 2 bathrooms? Oh, 4. Okay, so it's not 2 bathrooms.
Stalls.
4 and 4. 4 for
With
women,
stalls.
4 for men.
So it will it have, how many restrooms will the Plan 1 have?
If I remember correctly, Plan 1 was the modular.
Yes.
Plan 2 was the building.
Yes, and I remember that,
Plan 1, there was a male-female restroom included in the modular. We said that we could add more if needed.
right, right.
Option 2 has 4 stalls, men's and women.
No, yes, from the last conversation we had at the last board meeting, though, if you recall, we had a conversation which we had the option to add more stalls, so it wouldn't be limited only to 2. So that's what I thought maybe that was already incorporated within the new updated Plan 1.
In the voting, we made it clear that restrooms were equal.
Okay, so then, for me, when you look at our parents' voices, it's clear they need this facility as soon as possible. When you look at the parents' voices where all these services are going to be needed, incorporated within the facility, it's in there. And then when you look at the funding piece, I mean, as board members, we're held also, we're responsible for the funding in itself. And for me, I see, honestly, this is a great plan. I mean, I'm a parent myself. I have 5 children in the at one point 5 children in the district, and would have loved this center. But I'd rather us spend our resources and energy on the new facility. And I know the parents' concerns. Yo sé lo que tienes pensado de que no van a construir la segunda. Cuando ustedes, I'm going to say this in Spanish really quickly. Cuando ellos estaban hablando con ustedes, no nos habían comunicado nosotros. Es el problema de que nosotros supimos ya después. Ahora que estamos todos pendientes y tenemos todo, vamos a probar todo, ellos tienen que hacerlo. So, no es como si el lugar temporal va a ser o de palabra, porque en realidad ya estamos dedicando fondos, vamos a dedicar el tiempo y lo vamos a construir. Lo que me preocupa, what I was saying to them is that the funds for they were concerned, and when one of the parents was speaking, is that they're concerned that they would have chosen Plan 1, but they're afraid that Plan 2, that the district will never build it. But since it wasn't brought to our attention in previous times when they were having those conversations, of course they were going to be concerned. But in reality, and now that us all board members know, and we've allocated funding, it's different. And so the concerns are that they would have chose Plan 1, but they're afraid that it would have never been built. And so if Plan 2, at least they had a temporary location that would have been more fixed. Lo único que me preocupa es de que con ese dinero, con la ganancia, con lo que se hubiera ahorrado de un lugar temporal que en realidad no va a ser fijo, ese dinero se puede usar para otras cosas que quizás se puede involucrar en más actividades, quizás planes que tenían pensado que no lo incorporaron porque iban a quitar los fondos. En la diferencia podía haber entrado en el nuevo lugar también. Y uno como board member somos responsables por el dinero también. Queremos hacer lo que es bueno, pero también tener lugar fijo. So for me, it's like you look at the funding piece, and that extra money could easily be spent in enhancing other areas of the facility. So honestly, for me, it's when you look at being fiscally responsible, you also want to look at, we're going to get the new building regardless. Vamos a agarrar el edificio nuevo, no importa cuál escogemos el plan. And for me, the plan option 1 is the fastest, it's fiscally responsible, and it's also incorporating those extra bathrooms that we need. And it's right here at the Board of Ed. They can easily come to the Board of Ed right across the street, right across, and still come to the board meetings maybe right after. I'm thinking of different options there. And it's just easily accessible avenue, where the bus locations as well.
That bus doesn't stop here, though.
It doesn't stop in the front?
No, that bus that runs down the express does not stop anywhere near the school district. I think that the next stop for that bus is where? It's nowhere near here. It doesn't make the stops.
Do we have that information? Because I think.
No, it doesn't. The SB Express does not stop anywhere near here.
So I know that my children's travel on the SBX, but that would be good to find out. But regardless of that, I've gone on the bus, and it was never the SBX, and I was able to go to my doctor's appointment with it. And so that's not normally, and I have to walk farther away from where this bus would be leaving us. But the thing is that I'm looking at how we're going to end up getting the new facility anyways. And for me, it's like, yes, we can spend lavish money on the what?
Can we hear her?
Yes, I'm hearing the parents voting for the plan second.
Comment.
Yes, I heard that the parents decided that they wanted Plan 2. But what it was mentioned earlier with Dr. Hill and the other parent is that the voices weren't necessarily all inclusive. And so when you look at that, the parents' voice is picking this option. They want a facility regardless. We're going to give them the facility. I just think as a board member myself, we also have to look at other options. So, nomás para que sepan.
Thank you, Ms. Medina. And just my final comment, not to repeat everything that's been said, and I think it's said loud and clear. We want the parents, to give the input and let them know that we are definitely supportive of their decisions. I do believe, however, in the process of making this decision, we gave this task to the parents. Parents came back, some other things came up, and as Ms. Medina was saying, we hope that we can build the trust, be fiscally sound while doing it, and have the confidence more in knowing that if we say we're going to do it, we're going to do it, versus you taking a second choice, not believing that we're going to move forward on what we said. So ultimately, we do know that there's a need for the enrollment center. But my concern is, a pit stop again on the way to put time, effort, and energy into something when we could be putting it into the main and first choice. So at this time, board members, we need to revisit our votes and make a decision. It looks like it's just me left. Okay, here we go. Right. And when we say, and we weighed in, let me ask this question. When we say is there two options here, or we're looking at saying?
There's two options, but the one that's in motion right now is option 2.
Right. Are we going to bring a motion on option 2?
We're only voting on option 2.
So if this passes, we don't have the option to vote for option 1.
No.
Right.
Do we?
No.
Correct.
No.
You do not.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Thank you. So, Dr. Moneras, thank you for your leadership. Parents, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
And all the energy you've put into the conversation. Appreciate it. We'll look forward to moving forward in a very positive way as quickly as possible. Thank you.
All right. At this time, we're going to move to 2.0 on our agenda. or I'm sorry, 3.0.
You forgot to say motion passed.
Can I go back?
Yeah, the motion passed, and so there was a vote taken. It
Yes.
was,
Yes.
5-2. All right, 3.0, public comments. This is the time during the agenda when the Board of Education is prepared to receive comments from members of the public on any matter within its subject matter jurisdiction. If you wish to address the board, please complete a request to address the Board of Education from form located in the community room prior to the start of the board meeting. When recognized, please step to the podium, give your name, and limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. The time limit for public comments by 6 or more individuals on any topic is given 30 minutes.
and I don't believe there are any comments, Ms. Yeah, just the one, and I think they've withdrawn. I don't think they're here any longer. Yep. So thank you. There are no public comments tonight, Board.
At this time, we will adjourn into closed session.
Dr. Wiseman, will we need to report out on the anticipated litigation, or no? Or is there an item? No, there's no item. No, so there'll be no report out.